Freddie-Kitchens era has begun out in Berea with training camp as Browns get ready for the 2019 season. Kitchens seems very much at ease with being a head coach. The first time he's been a head coach at any level. And it's very obvious that he and John Dorsey have a really good relationship. Dorsey and Kitchens both talked about what they want to see from this training camp. And it's also very evident that Freddie-Kitchens more than willing to rely on John Dorsey if he has any questions about being that new head coach.
How long you been doing this?
Me?
Yeah.
Game of football?
Yeah.
34 years.
Oh, yeah. He is a veteran, isn't he? But, yeah, I speak to him, I wouldn't say on a regular basis, but I've spoken to, several coaches during the course of the summer. I just talked to Coach Parcells just the other day at length. And it's just sometimes it's just good to talk to them and just hear them talk. Sometimes when you talk to someone, you don't always have to have questions. You can just talk to them and they can just, that spurs thoughts. If you've ever had somebody you talk to where it's just a good conversation, that's tend to what I'm looking for more than anything. And then, of course, I think I have the resources to get answers to questions if I ever have them.
Is there a piece of advice, whether it be Parcells or other people, is it just be yourself, or what are the things that people are telling you as you make this transition?
Nothing specific. Coach Parcells, the biggest thing he gave me right after I got the job was that there would be always something comes across my desk that I wasn't expecting every day, and you have to have the ability to handle that. And hopefully I've done a good enough job doing that. But at the end of the day, all of my mentors, they know that I'm not changing. I am who I am, and it's up to everybody else. It's not my problem if you don't like me. I'm just gonna keep being me.
You got pretty good sounding board in one of the coaching staff too. If you can pick those guys' brains too.
Yeah, I mean we've got this staff was put together for a reason. They're good teachers first and foremost. All we want is teachers. All right, all coaching is teaching. And before our players can perform to the best of their ability, they have to be taught and what to do and what we're looking for. Then it's up to them to go do it. So I think I've put together great guys that goes and teach the players in the classroom, teach the players on the field, play with good technique. I think I've put together a physical staff because I want a physical staff too that teaches and believes in being physical. And then I've got, great experience. I mean, Todd-Monken's been a head coach at Southern Miss. Steve-Wilks has been a head coach in the NFL. Mike Prefer is probably ready to be a head coach in the National Football League. So just because they hadn't had the chance yet doesn't mean they haven't got the ability to do the same job I'm doing. All right, and I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, who the hell knows? Stump Mitchell's been in the league longer than I have. Stump Mitchell's played in the league. He's probably got, 30 years of experience in the National Football League, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I've got experience around me, and then I've got young guys that just have a desire and foaming at the mouth, per se, of just to get better and want to win, all right? This game's about winning, all right? I've said that from the very beginning, and we want to create a environment that it's all about winning, all right? And that's what everybody's focus is every day.
In your deepest of thoughts, say, is all of this too much? The roster turnover, the expectations, which are absolutely enormous. Your Super Bowl has been attached to your name. Do either of you ever get concerned that there's too much heading into this training camp?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I want everybody to understand this. Our goal here with the Cleveland Browns, as long as I'm here, will always be to win the Super Bowl. All right? Now, that's the last time I'm going to say that. Just know and make it a given that that's what I believe to my core, is to win the Super Bowl. Now, you don't do that by talking about it, and you don't do that by outside expectations. You do that by putting the expectations on how you prepare on a day in and day out basis, keeping your head down, not worrying about the scoreboard, because then you can't tell me when do I need to let up or when do I need to press a little harder. I just want everything they've got every time we walk on the field. And if we do that, we will let the scoreboard take care of ourselves. But we're not going to judge how we perform by the scoreboard. We're going to judge on how we perform of what we did personally to get better every day. I just want them to get a little bit better tomorrow than they are today. That's it. And then if we've done that enough, we'll put ourselves in position to be successful. Now, what that looks like this year, I don't know. I've never predicted anything, but I know what our goal is, and it's never going to change.
John, you mentioned the outside.
Let me follow up on yours. I'll follow up on you. My job is to get him as many good football players as I possibly can. Okay, with the talent that this coaching staff has in terms of developing young men, I have no problem with trying to achieve that goal. And we're on the first day of training camp because really, what Freddie was saying earlier, you have a bunch of individuals now, but eventually training camp will develop that team chemistry that is so important to succeed as this season begins. And I think you have a lot of men in that locker room that are truly passionate about the game of football. They are ultra competitive and really like the game of football. So now they just come together. I mean, that's what it is.
I don't want to ever be scared to talk about what our goal is, all right? Because if we don't have 53 guys here at the end of this thing, that's their goal, then they're in the wrong business, and they're doing us and the Cleveland Browns a disservice, all right? So I want them to have that goal, but I want them to understand how they get there. And it's not by talking about it. It's not by predicting it, all right? But I also don't want them to be scared to go get it, all right? If I said this earlier to somebody, I don't know who it was, but if you're not going to jump out of the airplane, don't put the parachute on. And I want people that have put the parachute on. All right? You got that one, Tony?
Terry, go ahead.
Along those same lines, with all the expectations, maybe you guys have been around, you've been through a lot of noise and things, even going back to Alabama, Freddie. But you have guys, some here, they have not been under this big medium microscope. There's going to be probably a lot of different noise going around this team than they've experienced before. So how do you deal with that? Keep that?
I think it's those guys within that locker room. I mean, what you do is you come together. I mean, it's within that locker room that makes the identity of the Cleveland Browns. Okay, that's who the Cleveland Browns are when they step out on that field on Sundays. It'll be those guys, and they're going to self-talk each other within that locker room. Some will have good days and bad days in training camp, but they have the commonality of one thing. They're all in training camp together, and that's how they're going to come together.
John Dorsey, Browns GM, who has put together a nice upgraded roster. You hear the goal. The goal is the Super Bowl. It's nice to hear. Let's see if they can do it. Well,